human design is not meant to tell us who we can or cannot be with, but it lets us know how we can best be with the people that we choose. So, like, if you decide that you want to marry this person or partner with this person, it's not like, oh, based on their human design, should I like choose not to do it? But rather, now that I really like have chosen them, how can I use their design to know how to better support them? If we use your marriage as an example, like things can be challenging if you're like, I need like him to choose just one thing. Or if he's like, I need her to like explore everything all at once. I think friction comes when we expect someone to be different than what they are. And I think human design is just one tool and such a powerful tool to help us understand who somebody is so we can really appreciate how different we are.
Well, hello, Queen.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We've been talking about you and human design for a long time. You have the book.
You choose, that's the book.
That's the book.
There it is.
I love how you literally score the title, How Do You Choose? First of all, what was that whole process like? And when you're writing a human design book, something that's kind of, a little on the edge, although it has been getting a lot of notoriety. How did the title come up? And did you guys figure out, like, are we going to go in one way or another way? Are we going to go full woo and just like let it all hang out? Because I'm so excited for this conversation.
So human design, for those that are new, is a mystical assessment tool that basically gives us so much amazing information around how we operate at our best in work, in parenting, in relationships, in decision making. And I think when we thought about the name for the book, it felt like we really wanted to center it on decision making. And so the book is really focused on how you can make empowered, clear decisions in relationships, career, and beyond. So it's how do you choose? It's meant to be a real-time guide where you're like, I'm not quite sure what to do next. I feel stuck. I feel like resistance, and to kind of open it up and remind yourself exactly what you're meant to do. And then I think to your second question, we did not go all the way woo because I think all the other human design books that exist, which are wonderful, are basically like some version of a human design textbook. It's like, here are all the elements, which for somebody like me, I love. I'm like, tell me everything. I want your perspective. But I think what's missing is a book that focuses on how human design can actually be used. How can it be used to make better career decisions, to build our businesses? How can it be used to parent in a way that's more sustainable? How can it be used to understand our partners and our kids and our friends and how to articulate our needs more clearly? And so the book is really focused on that. And so it's meant to be accessible to people that actually are not even into the woo, but they're open to any tool that will help them better understand the people that they choose. So that's where we're coming from.
Well, and how does this differ from other modalities like different astrology, right? Like Western astrology and Vedic astrology?
Well, you might be able to speak to this better than me because I honestly haven't gone deep into like all the other systems. But I think what has always drawn me to human design is twofold. One is that it's so specific. It's very much like this is your design in a way that like isn't really met by other people. The second piece is that it's so practical. It not only gives us all this juicy information, it lets us know like how can you actually use it in a day-to-day kind of way. And the book is very focused on that. I think my learning has been that most people don't want to learn human design. Most people want to know how to use human design to live their best life. So it's really for that. And I assume that many systems can be as practical as human design. I just haven't yet found one that is.
Because, I mean, Gene Keys is popping up.
Yeah.
How does that differ from human design?
Well, they're very connected. So the man, Richard Rudd, who brought forth the Gene Keys, was one of the first students of human design ever. And I would say that, and so like they are very connected in the information I can offer. I would say human design is much more practical day to day. Like, how can you structure your day optimally? How can you make better decisions? How many meetings should you take a day? Whereas the Gene Keys are much more contemplative. And so I think that they are such amazing partners, but also very different in kind of the energy of what they bring.
Okay. Was there a moment in your own life when that question, how do you choose, cracked something open for you? And what made you realize that now is the time to write this book? Because you've been doing these blueprints and you've been really well known, especially on IG. You've been going fire on these human design blueprints that you've been doing for businesses, organizations. And now, of course, it's a really amazing tool online on Instagram, so people can check it out, of course. So then why then write the book?
I think that, well, the question of like the moment of how do I choose, I feel like I've had that moment a bajillion times in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I was introduced to human design as a system by a stranger, and he was like, I want you to study this and like build a company with me. And like, that was a real moment of like, I've never met this person. I've never heard of human design. Like,
Mhm.
is this the thing that I want? You know,
Yeah.
also at that moment in my life, I'm like, should I move to Bali? Like, should I marry my partner? Should I have another kid? Like, there are just so many questions, like both big ones and small ones. And I think human design has been the best tool that I found to make those decisions in a way that feels clear and confident. And like, I know that I'm doing the right thing for me.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think why now for the book? Gosh, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that I had wanted to write a book for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it just, as with all things, like the timing is not right until it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a lot of agents and a lot of publishers. And then finally, after I had my first baby, she was young. I was like, now's the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened. I feel like I wasn't going to write a book until I saw that there was like a gap in the human design space that could be filled.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, I was like, I just, again, I don't think I need to write another textbook that exists.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, this is a bit tangential, but I think like why I could write the book now and I couldn't write it 3 years ago or say 5 years ago is because so much of the book is rooted in story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've sat with over 4,000 people in sessions, hundreds of teams. Like, I've just learned so much about human design from people's actual experience. And so I needed the time to really gather all of that
Oh, yeah.
to actually write a book that was rooted in story. And so, like, it just couldn't have happened earlier in my journey.
And you have so much data.
So much.
Well, and I want to even ask because obviously we've just uprooted our entire family
Yeah.
to Dubai. I did not consult my human design. And so I don't know, was it a good move or not? I guess we'll have to find
I
out.
know. Do you want to talk about it briefly?
Yeah, we could totally talk about my chart. So,
Only, yeah, about that decision, I would just be curious.
okay. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Okay.
So you did, because you do this.
Yeah.
You do these blueprints. And
Yeah.
now is it part of the book or is it now separate? Because I know now I went on your site and we
Yeah.
can just input.
Yeah.
So take us through, what it is. It's more than just our birthday.
So to look up your human design chart, you need your time, date, and place of birth. And you can go to humandesignblueprint.com, input that information. A crazy looking chart is going to come up that is not very intuitive. But what I would encourage is to look at kind of the key pieces, your type, your strategy, your authority. The book will go through all those pieces. So that's all you need to do is kind of look that up and then it will analyze it. We do still offer these kind of hyper personalized guides all about your design. And it's honestly the perfect complement to the book. But that's where you start.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay, should we talk about your decision briefly?
Sure, let's do it.
Just quickly.
Yeah, let's do
Just to
it.
give people an example. So for you in
Yeah.
human design,
Well, I'm a generator.
you're a generator,
5-1 or 1-5, I
5-1.
forget. Okay, 5-1.
And your authority is called sacral.
Okay,
So if anybody,
sacral.
sacral, which is your gut feeling.
My gut, yeah.
So if anybody's looking up their design and they see that they too have authority listed as sacral, then this will apply to you too.
Okay.
It basically means that when it comes to decision making, you are meant to make decisions in the moment based on your gut feeling. And the gut feeling is like a visceral pull. It's like, I like feel pulled towards this thing or pushed away. It's like a feeling that comes without explanation.
Mm-hmm.
If you find yourself saying, I think that I should move to Dubai because of this, that's not your gut speaking. Your gut is, it feels right or it doesn't. I don't know why, but I trust that I'll find out why later.
Yeah.
It's so easy to question your gut because it often is like very visceral and then you can get in your head about it. But I would say one of the most powerful ways to access it is that people ask you specific questions. Like, do you want to do this? Do you want to go here? Instead of leaving it open-ended. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
And we're going to wait for your visceral response, okay?
Okay.
So does Dubai feel like the right place for you to live right now?
Yes.
Like, there it is.
Yeah.
It's that obvious.
Yeah.
Like, I love this authority so much because people will talk around a decision for 20 minutes. And then I'll say, and do you want to do it? And they're like, no. So, like, it is so easily accessible to you when asked in the right way.
Let's go a little deeper because that's, one authority. What are some of the other authorities? Because obviously there's the 5 types too.
Yeah, of course.
So since we're on authority, I guess we can. And is there one where it's like we have to wait a certain period of time?
Yeah. So there are 7 different authorities in human design.
Okay.
And I'll keep them brief to not overwhelm.
Yeah.
So if you look up your authority and you're emotional, this is my authority. It means that you are not meant to be spontaneous like you or jump in based on an instinct. It's about sleeping on things and feeling into things. And I find this is true for the big decisions for sure, but even the small ones. Like, I feel like it's so easy for a small decision. I like kind of get in the heat of my emotions. I want to react immediately. And then 4 hours later, I'll feel entirely different.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it's really useful to take a pause
So this is also helpful for like if you know your kids' human
Yes.
design
And your
and
partners.
your partners. With my Ajit's a manifesting generator. I don't know his
Authority.
authority. Yikes. Okay. And then my kids both are manifestors.
Wow. Well, when we go to type, we'll have to talk about
Okay.
that because my
Yeah.
youngest is a manifester, and I'm
Oh.
so curious to see how it's showing up for you. Two manifestors. Wow. So some other examples of authorities, there are splenic authorities. They're meant to make decisions very quickly, kind of based on the whisper of their intuition.
Okay.
It's not a visceral gut feeling. It's just kind of a knowing that comes out of nowhere. There are self-projected authorities. The names are weird. Just
Yeah.
bear with me here.
Okay.
They're meant to kind of just speak things out and see how it feels to speak about a decision out loud.
Mm.
Often the tone of their voice will change. They'll say a thing and they're like, there it is. And so it's really about having the right sounding boards that kind of pull their truth out of them. There are ego authorities, which are about making decisions based on whether or not they really have like the willpower and the fortitude to make something happen. It's really around like, what do they desire? What do they want? What do they feel like they must have? There are mental authorities, which are about which is about talking things out in a lot of different spaces to see what kind of threads of truth emerge. And the final authority is for reflectors in human design, which is about giving themselves a full 28 to 30 days before they make a big decision. And one anecdote I shared in my story is a couple that came to me and they were trying to decide whether or not to move to the East Coast. And one of them was a sacral authority like you. And so she came and she's like, I know we're supposed to go there. Like, and she was feeling so frustrated because she felt like her husband was waffling. She's
Mm.
like, every day he experiences something different. And I just like don't know what to trust. And when I looked up his chart, I was like, he's just like going through his process. He's meant to give himself a full 28 to 30 days before he decides. So what she was perceiving as waffling was just his way of reaching clarity.
Mm.
So it is so useful to understand not only our own authority, but the authority of the people closest to us.
So that's really interesting because I feel like once we truly understand it's not just the type,
Yeah.
but also the authority.
Yes.
And also, I know that 1551 and
Yeah.
all of the numbers
The
and the
profile.
cross
Yeah.
sections. And I know some of you guys are watching this right now on YouTube and listening, and you think you're gonna make those decisions for yourself. You got to get the book because
Yeah.
I think, there's so much and you go so much deeper.
Yeah.
And I feel like you make it more practical because the way that, we don't typically use our human design for even hiring, right? And you
Totally.
teach people to hire based on
Yeah.
human design and leadership teams. And
Yeah.
even if you're a solopreneur or a mom, but like
Oh, yeah.
from, your household as well as I'm sure like friends groups as well.
Oh my God.
Because it's so
Totally. Yeah.
easy. Like when you're going on a girls' trip, you got the one that's like a
Yeah.
splenic authority. And then you
Totally.
have the emotional authority that's like,
Yeah.
nope, but then is going to get swayed by the one
Yes.
who's probably like a sacral authority. Let's go here.
Totally.
And so that's kind of where I can see where that.
It's so powerful. Like, and I really have a dream for the book that people not only read the chapters about themselves, which of course I hope they do, but then they open it up and they read about their partners and their kids and their colleagues. Because I will say, even though I wrote the book, every time I read the chapter about generators in relationships, which is my husband, I like discover something new. Every time I read
Mm.
about manifestors, I like think about my 6 month old. I'm like, oh my God, I could do this differently. So it is such an amazing tool to better understand the people closest to us.
So let's go through some of the types.
Okay, great. Okay, so remind me, your husband, you said it's a manifesting generator. Both kids are manifestors.
Yeah.
You're a generator. Okay. So let's talk about generators first. Again, if you guys haven't looked it up, you can at humandesignblueprint.com. So generators are very natural doers. You are somebody that has so much energy to kind of build, create, make things happen when you feel genuinely excited by what you're doing. So I would say one of your biggest lessons as a mother and as a working person in the world is to prioritize your own satisfaction and fulfillment and see that not as a selfish choice, but the most generous thing you can do. Because the more lit up you are, the more you light up everybody around you, from your kids to your colleagues to your friends, everybody. For generators, an ideal day is often one where you wake up energized and excited. You kind of use up your energy throughout the day in ways that feel very fulfilling, whether it's who you're spending time with or what you're working on, and you drop into bed delightfully spent. You're like, I've left it all on the table, and then you can kind of wake up energized again. So expending your energy well is often quite important. The last piece that I would share is that generators often have a big lesson to learn around boundaries. Because you are somebody with such natural capacity, people might load a lot on you, including yourself. And so really giving yourself permission to not carry it all on your own, to delegate, to hand things off, and again, to kind of make your own satisfaction a big priority.
Mm.
How does that all
Oh
land or
yeah,
not
that
land?
fully
Yeah.
lands. Fully. Yep. Yep.
And how do you feel like you do it, like prioritizing your own? satisfaction in carving out space for that.
Yeah, I feel like this season it has been, it's been full because then you're moving to a place where, I feel like New York is that the pace is really fast. Now we're in Dubai, the pace is just as fast, if not more. And it
Yeah.
was a complete opposite of Austin. But it's fast and it's great in a way where like I am utilizing my energy, but I can see where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. I do need to carve out that mini time to like
Yeah.
reset my nervous system,
Yeah.
which it's like I've found, like the moment in the day where
Yeah.
I don't need that hour, for a meditation or a
Right.
walk anymore. I can just do these brief, stints
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, I feel rejuvenated. And yeah, I'm doing things like voice lessons and, my morning bike ride. So like
I
there's
love that.
there's some things that is kind of filling me. So yeah.
Oh, do you feel like you ever felt guilt around doing that as a mother? Because I feel like I sit with so many parents, generator parents specifically, that feel like carving out time away from their kids creates all this guilt. And then they realize that, like, when they fill their own cup in that way, it just makes everybody lighter, brighter, and
Oh
happier.
yeah. I mean, I think in the early years of Isla when I mean, you're doing your book journey now with your second who's so young. It was the same. And
Yeah.
so Isla was she was like a year probably when my book came out.
Yeah.
And so now she's 3.5. But yeah, it was just a whole
Yeah.
and there was so much guilt around that period of time
Yeah.
from writing it when she was a baby to then all of the things. And then
Yeah.
even now, I did have this whole weirdness about leaving them as they are even older and now they can communicate even more. And I got so down on myself. I'm like, oh, but then I'm like, no. And then one of my girlfriends, she was just passing through Dubai and she's just like, it's going to be fine. You're going to go and you're going to have fun. You're going to have, and I'm like, I got on the plane and I'm like, oh, I slept 10 hours and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah.
Got to my hotel room. I'm like, I'm jumping on the bed. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't been in my own space for a really long time. So,
Yeah.
yes, I feel you generators who are parents. Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
thing.
It is a thing, and probably forever thing,
Yeah,
but it's a good
yeah.
reminder.
So it's like a really good reminder. So generators have to figure out with balance. Okay.
Yeah.
So now manifesting generators, you
Yeah.
want to go into them?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that. So there's a lot of similarity with generators here. Some people group them together. I'm curious if you notice any of these differences with your husband. Manifesting generators are also very natural doers, so much capacity to make things happen when they feel genuine excitement. Their energy is also very infectious. Their passion just kind of like lifts an entire room. What makes them different is that they tend to be quite multi-passionate.
Mm-hmm.
These are often my clients that are like, I'm a coach. I'm also starting a podcast. I'm considering like practicing law on the side, like maybe a bakery too. Like they just like, they're so multidimensional and vast in their expression. And so often they've been made to feel scattered or like they're doing too much when they actually need that variety. That's what like brings them fulfillment. Another piece for manifesting generators is that they're very fast.
Mm-hmm.
When they really have clarity that something's right, they can make it happen so quickly and so powerfully, which is obviously an extraordinary gift. And it can be quite challenging when they expect everyone else to move at their speed. And they can be very disappointed in the comparatively low capacity of other people when they, instead of realizing, like, oh, this is my gift, and they have their own gifts.
Oh, 100%.
Do you recognize that in
Oh,
your husband?
oh, 1000%. He's always got like 4 or 5 things going on
Right.
and he moves very fast.
Yes. And
Yeah.
they're meant to. And like one quick anecdote, I worked with a generator dad, and generators are also really around mastery and kind of this like steadfast energy. And he came to me and he was like, Erin, I'm like so frustrated with my daughter. Like she's just not choosing one sport. He like played one sport his entire like high school, college career. And he was like, she's playing lacrosse, she's trying softball, she's doing volleyball, like she's running track. Like I just need her to choose a thing. And then I looked at her design and I was like, she's a manifesting generator. Like she's doing it perfectly. She's trying things on, she's letting them go. And so it was so interesting because he was feeling so frustrated because she just was different than him. And
Ah,
human design just gave him a different lens to be like, she's actually doing nothing wrong. And how can
interesting.
I give her space to like explore all that variety?
So then you have more capacity for compassion
Exactly.
for everyone else.
Exactly.
So if generators have issues with boundaries, is it also the same for manifesting generators?
Yes, and I would add that they also can struggle when they stay with things for too long. They
Mm.
basically like don't understand that pivoting is part of their nature, and they're like, "Oh, I should stick with this thing because it did light me up. It did feel right." But it's like, "But that was 6 months ago. Like you're a different person now and something else might light you up." So it's not really giving themselves that permission to continually evolve.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Take note, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on.
Okay. Then we've got projectors.
Okay. Yes. Ooh, projectors.
Projectors. I assume you have a number of projector friends
In
in
my
your life.
life,
Yeah.
yes. Co-founders. Yep.
Yeah. So projectors are very natural leaders, guides, teachers, are so naturally wise about people and have often such an insightful, powerful perspective. As projectors, I'm going to say our because I too am a projector, but our energy can very naturally ebb and flow. So it's really important to kind of build in moments of space and rest and pause in your days, which can be hard. As projectors, I would say our biggest challenge, I mean, one of many for all of us, is around just being very susceptible to overdoing, of trying to kind of keep up with all the generators and manifesting generators around us and not giving ourselves permission to slow down. So, one of our lessons is really kind of disentangling our worth from how hard we work and how much we do, and really seeing it that it's our perspective and how we see in all these other pieces.
Oh, I can see that.
And it's hard, you know, I'm also like in a really full season in my life where rest is like, it's not often.
Yeah.
And yet I still, as a projector, it's like wherever I can take it, even if it's like, I need 5 minutes before I come downstairs, you know, I need like just a shower, like whatever the thing is, like taking it.
Yeah.
And I think that's also been really interesting as a mother of really giving myself that space and time for just like rest and time alone from an early moment in my postpartum journey because I knew what a difference it would make.
Ooh,
Yeah.
big.
And
I
then
can see all of my friends who are projectors. Yeah. Okay.
oh yeah. It's good also. I find it helpful. Maybe not every projector does when the people around us remind us that it's okay to stop.
Mm,
You know, that it's okay to pause.
yeah.
Because I feel like I sometimes just don't give myself that
Of
permission.
course.
Yeah. Then we've got manifestors.
Mm.
You've got 2 manifestor kids. I'm wowed by that simply because it's about 8 to 9% of the population.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so like 2 is just pretty wild.
Yes. It's
Um,
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then my 7-month-old today is a manifestor,
Oh my gosh.
which I am already seeing.
Mhm.
So manifestors are very innovative, disruptive kind of people. And I don't mean disruptive and like they're going to disrupt the class. I mean that like they just do things their own way.
Right.
Like they're not really here to tread someone else's path or kind of follow what's been done before. Like they're here to do it their way. They're so good at bringing new ideas to life. Their
Mhm.
gift is not always in sustaining the idea that they've kickstarted, but more around kind of breathing life into new ideas. These are also people that really require freedom. Freedom to do what they want, when they want, how they want. Obviously, as a parent with a kid, like you can't just be like, go do everything on your own, but really kind of setting some healthy boundaries where they do feel the freedom to lead when the time is right. Manifestor energy is very spurty.
Yeah.
They can have periods where they're like super on fire and very energized, followed by periods of like rest and time alone. So they might need a good amount of time alone.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that with my older one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think again, we live in a world of a lot of doers, so they might kind of feel the pressure to always be available, but really not forcing them to do things when they're not up for it.
Mm.
And you know, there's so much more to say about them, but I would say as parents, it's just important to remember like these are super powerful people. Like they just walk into a room and like their energy's felt. They're often quite intense and they have so much capacity to make pretty incredible things happen. These are honestly, this is the type that when they walk into a room, like I feel them more than any other type.
Yeah.
But it is interesting as a parent of like, how do you really support them in owning that power? Because I'll say I work with many adult manifestors that just feel so disconnected from that inherent power.
Really?
Because manifestors are like here to make the first move. They're here to initiate. They're here to kind of trust these things that come to them. And so often people I've sat with have not allowed that.
Do you think it's because growing up they weren't allowed to fully express, and then it's kind of like tampered down, and then they meet you, and then you're like, but you're a manifestor. You're supposed to be
Totally. You're supposed to make the first move. You're
big
supposed
in all of those ways.
I think that, and I think it happens for all of us in different ways. I feel like kids express their design so purely often. And then it gets tamped down. It gets like, oh, I should be something else. And whatever our design is, we don't really trust our way. And then later in life, we're like, oh, it's actually okay
Right,
to
it
be
comes
this. So
back. Yeah.
you just, I think, have like such a cool opportunity with 2 manifestor kids to really create such a safe space for them to express their power early on.
It's interesting because they're both manifestors, what we're navigating with now is, you know, my older one wants to do this one thing and he's going in one direction and then my daughter's going in one direction. And so then they have that conflict. And so it's like the fighting of like,
Yeah.
I need to go first. No, I need to go first. So it's just, and I don't, you know, it's of course they're kids. My 3-year-old is 3 right now. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's a whole soup, but yeah, I've always before I understood the power of manifestors, I would always be like, "Oh my gosh, My kids are they're full of just enthusiasm, love, passion, and loudness and all of the things. And I'm like, oh, because yeah, they're manifestors. Like we walk in a room and, oh, the Noelkas are here because just the kids
Wow.
are just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we don't, tame them, of course.
Do you notice kind of the ebbs and flows of the energy? You said maybe you do a little bit more with the
I
oldest.
do more with my older one. My 3-year-old, I think she's just starting to kind of
Yeah.
find her way because it's always been whatever Ari wants to do. And
Yeah.
Isla is like,
Right. She's gonna.
just wants to do whatever he wants to do. But now I feel like I'm seeing more of her kind of retracting a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and again, it's something I've seen actually work with parents and manifestors is kind of like setting aside like a day of the week, even maybe for each of them, where it's like a day where like they get to be in charge of everybody. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And they get to run the show
Yeah. Oh, that's
because
actually good.
yeah, just
Yeah.
so they each have the space. And the what I've noticed in my 7 month old is I talked about the need for freedom. And when my 7 month old was 2 months old, she started rolling over, which was a lot earlier than with my toddler.
Oh my gosh.
And she started breaking out of her swaddle and she would like only sleep on her belly. And the internet is like, they can't sleep on their belly that young. And I remember calling my pediatrician being like, I keep trying to flip her back over like in the middle of the night and she keeps flipping back over. And she's like, you can't do anything. Like she's going to do what she wants to do. And I was like, she's going to do what she wants to do. And I was like, this girl just like needs to be free. And there's like such a physical intensity to her, which has been really cool to see. But like you can already sense where she's just like, I need to like have a little bit more control over what's happening in my environment. Yeah.
Wow. That happened at 2 months.
2 months.
Insane.
I know.
Okay.
The opposite of my other one.
As they
Yeah.
they
As I think
are.
they tend to be. I'm just like, this is a different child. So the final type is a reflector. This is
Mm,
the rarest type. These people are so sensitive to their environment. So they need to be such ruthless curators of where they spend time and who they spend time with. They really kind of mirror back and amplify the energy of a space.
mm.
They're also very fluid people. They will probably have days of the month where they feel like every single type. So their job is not to box themselves into one expression or one way of being, but to honor whatever feels like them that day, knowing like it's all them.
Okay.
And they're very wise evaluators. We call them evaluators in the context of business because they can just very objectively assess where things are, what's going awry, and how things can be improved.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now, how are some of those? I want to kind of, go into how when we have our type and we have our authority. And I know that when I put kind of I forget, like I put all my info
Yeah.
on the site, and then you get this, what is the report that you actually get? Like
Mm-hmm.
the first report
Mm-hmm.
before you do the next report.
Yeah.
And how does the book break all of those things down so that we can start using it in our daily life?
Totally. So when you look up your chart, you will see for free all these kind of different elements of your design. And we've talked about really important ones, and yet they're just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It's like your type, which is how you best use your energy, your strategy, which is how you create opportunities, how you make decisions, how you best interact with other people, where your challenges are. So it kind of gives you a high level of each of those things.
Hmm.
You can also buy a hyper personalized report that dives into all of them,
Which I have too from
which you
you.
have.
Yes, I do.
And
And
we
that was like 30 pages or something like that.
60 pages, if you can believe
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay. See, it's like a book.
It is like a book. And the book itself is honestly the perfect complement to it all because it is more of an exploration of like, not again, like what is everything in your design, but more like now that you know you're a generator, what
Mhm.
does that mean in community? What does that mean in friendships? What does that mean when you're running a business? What does that mean when it's like, trying to figure out your next step or,
Mhm.
your authority is sacral? Like, how can you actually articulate that to your partner? How can you support people that have that authority? So it really is so much around how can we actually use this information to express more authentically in every part of our lives, but also to better understand the people that we love.
Oh,
And the book, like I said, is so full of stories. So it's not just me telling you very practically about each piece, but it's more around this person discovered they were a projector, they were in this job, this is what they chose, and this is what happened. And
yeah.
I just feel like stories are such an interesting way to really understand this information.
It's huge. And I think for a lot of people, it's easy to go on an astrology website and say, okay, I'm a Cancer sun and I'm supposed to be with another water sign,
Totally.
right? And so do you think human design can also support with these relationships as well? How to
Yes.
navigate, or is it, is a generator supposed to be with a reflector? Like,
Mm.
do you have insight on those things for people?
I think that every teacher is probably going to have a different approach here. I think that my approach is that human design is not meant to tell us who we can or cannot be with,
Mhm.
but it lets us know how we can best be with the people that we choose.
Mm.
So, like, if decide that you want to marry this person or partner with this person, it's not like, oh, based on their human design, should I like choose not to do it? But rather, now that I really like have chosen them, how can I use their design to know how to better support them? There's something really nice being with people that are very similar because there's a sense of resonance and harmony, especially if you're living in alignment. But I feel like we're also really attracted to difference.
Yeah.
But I think that like if we use your marriage as an example, like things can be challenging if like you're like, I need like him to choose just one thing. Or if he's like, I need her to like explore everything all at once. Like I think friction comes when we expect someone to be different than what they are. And I think human design is just one tool and such a powerful tool to help us understand who somebody is so we can really appreciate how different we are.
Oh, so good. Okay, and we are getting into our spill the chai section, which
Ooh.
is our roundtable section. It's our rapid fire where you can answer this as fast as you want, as slow as you want. But before I get into that, is there anything else that we have missed about this book? How do you choose? And what is it that you want people to leave with?
Mm,
And the mission now you're carrying, because I feel like you've had a beautiful era of introducing this. So, on Instagram, you've kind of, exploded in so many ways throughout the years.
yeah.
But I feel like now having, a tangible way of how people can really incorporate it in their lives. So what's next?
Well, I think, one piece that we didn't talk about, I don't think we need to, but we explore deeply in the book is around how you create better opportunities. And I feel like that's a really useful piece. It's called our strategy because I think people often don't know how to find their way into a community or new friendships or a partnership. And I think it's really a cool part of our design to help us know how to do that. In terms of what's next, like, I've been working with human design for 10 years now. It feels like this in some ways is the culmination of like, this is like the work of sitting with all the people and this is the thing. So I don't really know what's after this. Like, it does kind of feel like there's a before and after of this book in a way that is a little bit foggy. But I do feel like this book, my goal here is that it really is the book that can help bridge and bring human design to the mainstream because even though we've both seen it grow in popularity, it's still incredibly nascent.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is around how it's communicated. It's very much like this is the truth, and it's a little bit and human design is mystical, but I think there are ways to communicate it that bring the principles out to a much bigger audience, and the book is meant to be that.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm loving seeing is a lot of early readers are like getting the book for like all their retreat guests or all their like coaching clients. And so like I love it being a thing where it's like this is not for everybody who loves human design. This is for people that like want a tool to help them move out of stuckness when it arises, which it does for all of us.
Yeah.
And it's a way to just keep returning to ourselves over and over again.
Well, and I love what you just said about the piece that we didn't fully get into of the
Yeah.
strategy, because I
Yeah.
think, even moving to a new place, how does a
Yes.
generator, is she supposed to go to all of the events that she gets invited to?
Right.
Which I think I am because
Yeah.
I'm a generator. But then,
Yeah.
for a reflector, probably not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or somebody that has a different authority,
Totally.
like an emotional authority, maybe not make those decisions like right away. So I feel like there's
Yeah.
so much to unpack
So much.
there.
Endless. And again, in like really specific ways, in ways that I think really change the day to day. Like just a quick example of your strategy is like your strategy is to respond to things. So you're not meant to like sit at home and like come up with your next idea out of thin air. It's often through a conversation, something you see on Instagram, a podcast you listen to where you're like, I want to do this thing. And so you're basically waiting for your gut to just light up in response to the world around you. And like that's often such a relief for generators to discover that like they don't have to force a thing.
Yeah.
The thing will show up and they've got to just trust their gut to move them in that direction.
Erin Claire, this has been so incredible. Where can we get the book?
You can get the book everywhere books are sold. It's called How Do You Choose a Human Design Guide to What's Best for You at Work, in Love, and in Life.
Amazing. And for the blueprint, we're going to link that also in the show
We'll link
notes.
that, and we also can do a discount code.
Yes,
And
please.
the discount code is BRAVE, and that basically is a hyper personalized guide all about you.
Amazing. All right. Use code BRAVE at checkout, and I'll link it in the show notes as well. Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
What's the most off-brand thing about human design, about your human design type that people wouldn't expect?
I don't know if this would be off brand, but I feel like so often with projectors, we talk so much about rest. And so there's like a slowness, but I think we forget, and I feel like you know this with Sahara, like when projectors like are really invited in, like their energy is through the roof.
Yeah.
And so like this is not about being like slow and not having energy. It's about just like energy being inconsistent, but when it's there, it's there.
Yeah, it's not like full kapha energy of just like
No.
sitting and meditating.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But it's definitely that wise wisdom
Exactly.
and it's full.
Yes.
Okay, the most misunderstood part about human design in one sentence.
That it's meant to tell us what we should or should not do with our lives.
Something you used to crave in relationships, but now you realize you never really need it.
Hmm. I feel like, oh, there's so many directions. The thing that I used to crave in relationships, I feel like a lot of like kind of like community group gatherings. I feel like I like wanted that. And now it feels like one-on-one is really what
Yeah,
I need a lot more.
more sacred.
Yeah.
Out of all of the types,
Hmm.
which is the one that's easily to make friends with?
Probably generators.
Okay. Biggest ick when it comes to personal growth culture.
Just that it's never ending and people don't live their life.
What's one habit that you've totally ditched because you learned more about your design?
Oh, I forgot that like before, because I learned more about my design, I was like journaling, but not because I learned more about my design, because I had kids and life got crazy. I would love to come back to that soon. Since learning my design, oh, that's a great question. Honestly, like I used to do hot yoga every single day.
Oh.
Not possible in this season of my life,
Right.
but like this intensity and rigidity around movement, I've let that go.
Okay. Okay. Because you're supposed to be more in flow.
Yeah. And also like things are sometimes effective. Like I love Pilates. It's like a little bit easier on my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love hot yoga.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I was a
gosh.
little bit militant about it.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, was it Bikram?
It wasn't Bikram. It was just
Okay.
like New York City. It was just like 7
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah,
every day.
yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
For a long time.
I know. I miss hot yoga.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the bravest thing you've done this year?
Give birth?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. That was last year.
I mean, still.
I mean, giving birth is just the wildest.
It's the wildest.
You know what?
Did you do a home birth?
I didn't do a home birth. I gave birth at a birth center for both. But also very manifestory. This little honey, both of the births were very fast, but I was like, I gave birth at a tub this time.
Oh, wow.
And the contractions were getting a little more intense. And my doula was like, you should get in the tub. And I got in the tub and all of a sudden I like started pushing, which nobody expected. And she came out in one push.
No.
I started pushing and then I like looked at my doula. I was like, I believe her head is out. My midwife ran around. She's like, her head is indeed out. You might as well just like push her out all the way. It was so crazy. She was so fast.
That's so fast.
It was like there's a look right after and like they're like, that's joy. I'm like, that is shock. Like that she was already here. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Manifester.
So
Boom.
and her authority is splenic, which is just again like super fast. I was like, this is wild.
Ooh, I can't
know.
wait to jam when your daughter gets a little older.
I know.
Take notes.
I can't wait either. Yeah.
One word that describes this season of life.
Full.
Erin Claire, such a gem. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time. Good luck with this book. Everyone
you.
needs to get How Do You Choose by Erin Claire Jones. And where can we follow you?
Erin Claire Jones and Human Design Blueprint.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Kathy.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. This amazing episode and conversation with Erin Claire Jones was just mind-boggling. Go ahead, get the book, and I'm going to link where you can find Erin Claire, her book, How Do You Choose? It's out everywhere. And I think it's one of those things where you'll never stop learning about human design. And when I was introduced to her work several years ago, and obviously I've had several different places, but the way she breaks it down and the way she breaks it down in the book is just so easy and it's so practical because not only are you using it in your relationships, not only are you using it in your life, in the day-to-days of your life, but also with your kids. And that was such a game changer for me. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share this with a friend, a family member, a colleague. Perhaps maybe you want to bring Erin into your teams, organizations, businesses. I know the blueprints have been shared with several organizations just for team structure. And if you are going through uncertainty or going through different pivots in your life, whether it's relationship or business or work, this is definitely a good time to get this book and even get your blueprint uncovered. And you can use Brave, BRAVE, at checkout for your discount. I will link it all in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until next time on the Brave Table. You know I've got so much more in store for you. So if you are really ready to dive in and keep owning your emotions like the boss that you are, click right here. Go ahead, don't be shy. I'll see you in the next one.
keep shining.